Dima, everybody is so official and quiet. How about you tell a joke?
I'm still thinking what's the better joke to fit here in the situation. Um,
Maybe you can like give all the guys here like a link after that to your FinOps meme LinkedIn page. That can be a
um,
nice addition.
you're publishing here, inner circle secrets, but don't
Yes,
worry, don't
no
worry.
problem. No problem. Just
Uh,
trying to break the ice here a little bit.
all right, all right. So again, we're 2 minutes after the time, so I think that we can say hello to everybody and welcome to today's webinar. We're going to talk about innovating cloud FinOps, business value, and cost allocation. My name is Dima Belayev. I'm in charge of the business development here at Attribute, and I'll be your host for today. We're thrilled to have here, before we dive into anything about this webinar, first of all, Anderson Oliveira. Anderson is a FinOps expert from AXA and a very close friend of ours. And secondly, we have Shahaf Galili, who is the VP product here at Attribute. So first of all, thank you guys for joining, and we're looking forward to learn from your experience. For all of you who's joining right now live, welcome. Feel free to say hello on the chat. Let us know where you're coming from. I see here Brad, Borja, Aaron, welcome. Good to see you here, guys. Keshav, good to see all of you here. So before we begin, let's cover a few housekeeping items to make sure everybody's on the best experience possible. This session has been recorded, and we'll share the recording with you after the webinar, so don't worry if you missed anything. Secondly, we'll have a dedicated Q&A session in the end. So please use the Q&A button to submit your questions anytime during the webinar. We'll do our best to get as many as you can. And lastly, we'll be running 2 polls during the webinar, of course, about FinOps. We appreciate your participation, and we'll share the results in the following email with the recording that we'll send you in the end. So before we're moving to our talks, let's run our first poll. Is it working? The poll is up. All right, all right. How does your organization currently allocate cloud costs to specific teams, department, or customers? Take a few moments, please fill in the answers. All right, let's give it another minute for the ones that still thinking about the answer.
Yeah,
All right,
manual
perfect.
processes, automated tools or software, or no allocation at all, or maybe not sure, huh? Okay.
I think the option 4 is the most problematic one.
Uh-huh.
All right, all right. So our topic today is about business value and cloud allocation. Anderson and Shahaf, the floor is yours, please.
Awesome. So Anderson, let's start with your session. I just want to say I'm really happy to be here. Really happy to share this with you. So let's get this going.
All right. I am very happy as well to be with you guys from Attribute. I believe that you are on the forefront of new technologies on the FinOps area. Very excited to see that the thing that I've been preaching in the FinOps found or resonate with you. I'm very happy with as well the recognition that this topic is reaching throughout the community, especially during the FinOps XE, that I had the chance to present this very same material that I will be presenting in here, maybe with some different flavors so that we can have something very unique and specific for this session. Very happy to be here. Shahaf, Dima are very dear friends of mine. I'm feeling at home here, like we are having a conversation about FinOps, value, allocation, new technologies, and what we gonna have here as surprise. So just everybody know there is no scripts in this call. We just simply gonna flow, and hopefully everything goes right. Okay, I want to talk about business value, which is on the definition of FinOps. The objective of FinOps is to deliver business value to the customers, all right, through the investments on cloud. For those that are not familiar, here on the screen you have the FinOps framework, which is a summary of everything that is being developed, discussed, being talked about. If you want to have a full bloom FinOps implementation in your organization, some aspects, if not all, of what here is on the screen should be present. And within all of the domains that we have one, two, three, four domains with several capabilities. The ones that we will be focused on today is on the quantify business value that encompass planning and estimation, forecasting, budgeting, benchmark, and unit economics. We will be just touch basing a little quickly, very quickly, each one of them, because they have to do with the ability of companies and organizations to quantify business value. Still on the context on the next slide, I want to bring to you some numbers, and I would like to get Shahaf's opinion as well. All of this comes from the the FinOps poll that is or survey that is run every year in order to get what is on the minds and the hearts of the people of the FinOps community. And what I try to say here is to prove why this thing is important. It was asked for many people, for many respondents, what are current FinOps practitioner priorities? It's an open question, several options, and you see there that almost 40% of respondents says that the full allocation of cloud spending is very important. Is something that was on let's say on the top five of their priorities and their objectives. It just came after the reducing of waste, managing commitment base, and accurate forecasting of spend. So allocating is still something, and it is something very important for FinOps practitioners all over the globe.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think that like when looking at these like numbers and priorities, and what I hear a lot from customers is if you want to be really good at reducing waste or accurate forecasting, you also need full allocation. So this is something that is not only by itself, it also like a driver or an engine to other priorities or to other key KPIs for any FinOps practitioner.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, maybe I'm wrong, but I think that on the previous year, this same priority was not on the fourth position, it was on the seventh or on the eighth.
Yes,
So it is improving, it's getting more importance year over year.
100%.
All right, the next slide has another interesting number. Percentage of respondents stating increased organizational attention on the following topics. Those are the top three: budget granularity and communication, accuracy of forecasting to actual spend, and expectations on adherence to budget. You know, it's interesting that this attention to these three areas, they have a foundation. So it's not possible to have a budget granularity if you're not able to allocate the actual cost in order to make sure that your budget is in adherence to that your costs are not in adherence to the budget, and the accuracy of the forecast to the actual spend. Before you know the accuracy, if you were accurate enough on your forecasting, you need to make sure that the actual spend was correctly calculated and correctly allocated. So again, people are surfacing as we are maturing as a community. It's surfacing an inevitable truth, which is the foundation of knowing where we want to go depends on knowing where we are. And knowing where you are comes from knowing the or doing a good cost allocation. Another number here that we have key priorities of practitioners by cloud spend. Each column represents the size of the company in terms of the cloud spend. So the 0 to 15 million determine that full cost allocation, it comes in fourth. We don't see that appearing on the middle size, but on the giant ones, people that are spending more than 100 million per year is putting full allocation of cloud spending on the top. It's not on the top three. Any insights in that, Shahaf, based on when you see this? I know that it's going to be a complete, let's say, as we don't know exactly the data that is going benefit, but any idea of what could be that could justify this situation here?
Yeah, I think that maybe for like a small company that like is just starting the FinOps journey, as you said, like understanding where I am takes a full priority. To companies that are in the middle, that have done some work, reduced some costs, are already mature, these will be the middle ones. Maybe this takes less of a priority, but when you scale and you go to like a huge budget of like more than 1 million a year, sorry, 100 million a year, then like every cent counts, and every percentage where you don't allocate, these numbers are huge. So this is why it takes priority. So even if you don't have like 2% out of your entire cost unallocated, that becomes big numbers. And that is why that's a priority.
Yeah, and the allocation here as well for the 100 million plus, my impression could be is that it has to do with chargeback. Maybe the ones that are small or medium are doing more showback, but when you go to these giant numbers, and they are probably companies that are there on the market for a long time, they are migrating to the cloud and have millions and millions to spend, they still need to comply to their internal controls and finance flows, and allocation of the costs into cost centers become a practice that need to be reproduced with the cost spent. And for that reason, allocating the costs using methodologies that make sense, that are just and that are reliable, becomes something that is important for those companies so that each one of the business units is receiving the cost that they are due. Very well. So let's go into this. So far, what we've done is to explain the reasons why we need something to deliver value. A cost allocation is definitely part of that. But I also want to say that earned value management is something that is directed not only to the FinOps teams, but especially for the leaderships, the CEOs, the CTOs, senior leaders, because value is a benefit that is perceived. And it's due to the leadership to tell the organization, this is the value that we are pursuing. It could start from the CTO saying what is the greatest value. Sometimes people associate that with revenue, but revenue is not the only value that companies are looking for. And when you go down in the layers and layers of a company, and maybe you have a application or a service that is delivering value, but it's not necessarily a monetary value, the leaders in that area is also responsible to come to the team and stop a little bit, reflect, and say, okay, what is the value that I'm delivering? And with that in hand, we start measuring if we are delivering the value that our services and processes and systems has promised. The earned value management technique is something that comes to our environment in order to bring this discussion. Let's start talking about value, because Sharaf, my impression is that we as a community, FinOps community, we are very focused on cost savings. cost savings, cost savings, cost savings. And this is what the framework calls low-hanging fruits. And as any low-hanging fruits, they will be harvested sometime. And then the effort to get the same amount of savings will require maybe the double or the triple of the work in order to continue on the same path, right? So there's going to be a moment that low-hanging fruits will not be there so available. So it's time now for us to start stopping thinking just on savings, but think as well about value.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that like this field is maturing. And by the way, you mentioned at FinOps X Barcelona, all the talk, even JR in like his opening statements said, we need to start looking at the value. Okay, like we need to mature FinOps as a practice and start looking at value. So that this makes perfect sense.
Great, great. So let's talk about this technique, earned value management. If there are any project managers here on the call or project professionals, or if you have gone through any PMP exam, you must have heard about this. EVM is a project management methodology for objectively measuring project performance and progress and for forecasting project outcome. Although this is project, it has lots and lots to do with FinOps, and especially on the quantified business value domain. You will see on the next slide that this technique is being used for a long time. Actually, earned value management started on the 60s. It was created in the United States by the Department of Defense. It's being used as a method of tracking project success and progress in all DoD projects. And this has been then moved to many other areas like NASA or the UK Ministry of Defense, the Project Management Institute, and many, many other areas or companies that today uses project management. They use this technique to measure the progress and the value delivery of those projects. And the, the difference here is that we need to make an adaptation to FinOps because project, as definition, is an initiative that has a defined beginning and the defined end. But FinOps, as the name says, the last part of FinOps is operations. And operations, by definition, is something that doesn't have end. So how do we do that? Okay, another thing, a project has tasks. An operation doesn't have tasks. It has processes, it has systems, it has services. How do we then make this to flow from a project perspective to a operation perspective? And that's what I aim to give an introduction to you guys today. But the three questions still remains is to have a very clear view, number one, of where have we been in terms of cost. Number two, where are we now? And number three, where we are going from now, considering that we maintain the same pace that has dictated the path until the moment of the measurement. When I started looking to EVM on my previous days on project management, long time ago, more than 20 years ago, I gotta tell you, Shahaf, that EVM was a complete mystery for me. The way that it was taught to me was in a way that it sounds so complicated. But after working with this for so long, I just came up with okay, it's actually very, very easy. I don't know why people complicated that. So here is really what you need to do. if you do a quick research on the internet, you're going to see that EVM has a series, lots and lots of KPIs. But you can calculate all the KPIs with these three simple data points. The first one is called PV. That is the budget or the planned value of the work schedule. And here comes the first adjustment for FinOps. We will change the plan for the budget of a period. The actual cost of work completed, it's the same. In focus terms, it's exactly as the effective cost. And number three is the earned value of the physical work completed. The planned value times percent complete. It's just as simple as knowing how much you have planned for a specific moment in time and multiply that for how much you have progressed in terms of percent complete. Just very quick and very simple. And with these three data points, you're able to calculate all the numbers. And by the way, if you take a look at the on my blog, but if you also go to Attributes blog, I put an article in there explaining the details on how to get that calculated. You can check it out later. So on the next slide, to get started with EVM, you will need to put in March the inputs. EVM will need the planning, where you're gonna be going through this study with your teams and gathering the data and doing the estimate. The budgeting, determining how much each one of the areas is gonna be spending when. And on the budgeting, you should include as well the unit economics, which is how much you're spending or expected to have value in each one of this period. The unit economic is really key because a definition that I like to say is like unit economics is the much that you're willing to pay for the benefit that you're looking for. All right, maybe if it's a cost, number of orders. Let me give just an example. How much your company is willing to pay per order or per customer or per cents of revenue or hundreds of revenue. This is something that every area needs to get and have a conversation in order to define. Once this all is done, the output will be to deliver the, 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 the value, the benchmarking and forecasting. Both areas has specific KPIs in the earned value management technique that allows you to benchmark between teams and also within business units. Also, ability to calculate a forecast by implying that the current pace will be repeated for future moments. I think I have my last slide here, and then I will stop talking and have Shahaf talk a little bit. Oh, no, sorry, I have two more slides. The CPI, it's the cost performance indicator, and it's as simple as dividing the earned value by actual cost. CPI aims to be a very simple but yet powerful KPI for value tracking. When CPI equals 1 means that you're delivering the value that you expected. If it's above 1 means that the value that you're delivering is higher than what you expected. And on the other hand, CPI below 1, business value is lower compared to the budget cost. If you give this number to your senior leaders, it will be very simple to them to understand. So you have an area that has a CPI 1.1. Okay, good. You are delivering more than what you're expecting for that period. But if you have a CPI like 0.85 or 0.9, you're not delivering as much as you have promised. Of course, there is a bound, an area that you can navigate that is acceptable. That is also something that you can set up. Earned value stands for planned value, the one that we talked about on the budgeting, times percentage of unit economics. Suppose that you expected 0 $0.5 per order, and now you take a look and see that you're spending less per order. Divided one by the other, you have the percentage, and this percentage times the planned value gonna give you how much you earned in that same period. Now it's really the last slide, which is allow you to do a graph similar to that I will explain you very quickly. You have cost in this X, in you time in this one. You see that the name of this curve is called the S curve, which is a cumulative curve of data. You see that the dotted green line is the planned value. So you have that from the beginning until the end of the period that you're measuring, that you're considering, let's say the budget cycle of a year. The yellow line is the actual cost. So when you compare the yellow with the green, you see that the yellow is on the top of the green line, which means that in theory, you're spending more than expected or the plan. Not in theory, in fact, you're spending more than you have planned. In a normal comparison between actuals versus plan, you're probably gonna be in a bad situation here. But when you compare with the value, is that where the things gets another color. See that the earned value, the blue line is below the planned value. So this means that the earned value here is that you are delivering less than have you planned. So the situation that is bad actually it's even worse because the variation of what you have planned, comparing the actuals against what you have expected to earn is even further away than you were expecting. Giving you the difference there, that is the cost variance. So sometimes we may feel that situation is not very good, but maybe it's worse. But suppose that it would be the reverse thing. The yellow was below the planned value and you have the earned value above, then you would be delivering much more than you were expecting. So this is pretty much in a summary how to interpret the graph and the power of that what that offered. See that and I want to hear it for now on, Shahaf, is that being able to do something like this requires a very important in a way to track costs and allocate those costs. All right. So we've been suffering a lot as a practitioner on doing that, maybe using tags or Excel spreadsheets to do the mapping. And I was always thinking, okay, well, could we do that differently? And it seems that you guys have come up with some very neat ways to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that like the reason I love like this methodology is because it moves the focus from, yeah, sure, I'm spending in the cloud. I'm like wasting money, but I'm not really wasting. I'm putting the money in the cloud to get value. And I think the first time I really saw someone trying to work that out as a complete framework of not only saying, yeah, I need to spend more, I need to pay more, but like, no, why am I paying? What's the value I'm getting from what I'm paying? And does it make sense? Right? Are the margins correct? Is my earned value correct? Where am I in my CPI? This makes so much sense. And again, it's in the maturity curve of FinOps. I think this is where we need to go. So let me jump to the next session. Dima, are we pausing here or are we like scrolling into this? Right? We're scrolling.
You go with the flow.
Okay, we were going with the flow. So if we want to focus on the value in the cloud and we want to see exactly what we're paying for, and we want to understand using these new methodologies of not only how much we're spending, but what are we spending them on, and how much value we're getting from these arbitrary things that we're spending on, we have challenges, okay? We're missing some data, we're missing accurate costs, and we're missing unit economics. And Anderson, I think you mentioned it like for a second there. So there's like practices that there have been with FinOps, I think, for like from the moment that there was cloud, and we've been tagging stuff all around, trying to understand what belongs to who and who's paying for what. And I think that we understand now, as like we dive deeper into these like value perspectives, that these are not good enough. And this is what we're trying to solve for. And I think it correlates really nicely with this like new way of looking at things. So this is the base cost like formula. Everybody on this call knows this by heart. I'm not going to talk a lot about this, but we all know that like cost is rate times the usage. But again, the challenges, okay, and we can see them here. Rate is complex. It changes per region, sometimes per time of day. The usage, it's also complex to get. We're limited to the cloud service providers' data. As granular as they give us, this is what we have. We don't have any more visibility. We don't have visibility into shared cost or shared usage, okay? Again, which is like a huge challenge when you look at like modern organizations using like many shared resources, and we're not focusing on business value, okay? We're lacking good visibility on the cost of a team, of a feature, of an application, of a customer, our customer in our cloud. And again, this is limiting us, and we can't take the full potential of understanding the value.
Mm-hmm.
So what have we been doing? We've been tagging the infrastructure, okay? And so this is like a very basic slide, but we can see many resources here, like buckets, Kafka
Very
clusters,
nice, very nice
AG.
slide. It shows exactly what we do.
Exactly. And you know, we keep like pushing these tags, and we have so many tags, but the moment that like we use share resources, let's face it, and again, we've talked to many practitioners, and we have a lot of like experienced people here on the call, like it breaks. We start using percentage and some, again, arbitrary calculation, and it doesn't really work. And again, what we're doing in this tagging practice is basically we're labeling servers or routers or databases, basically someone else's server or a database, with names, and we're not looking at the actual value that we can extract from them. And we think we need to do better. We think we need to use something better that will enable us to look at it differently. So we know that we need better visibility, and we need more granularity in order to solve for shared resources or for a more complex environment. We need new data that is usage-based, that we will know exactly what are we paying for, how much we're paying for, and who has been using what and how much, which again, it's a very simple phrase, but it's very complicated to achieve. And for all of this, we believe here in Attribute that we need new technology to FinOps. We think that FinOps was like, for very long, we've been looking, all of us, at the same billing data of the cloud service providers, and we haven't introduced like new visibility into this very exciting game. So what is our perspective? What's our take on like what's the right way to do it? You need to focus on the business value. And we believe that business value in the cloud is code, it's workload, it's applications, it's the programs that you guys write or use in the cloud in order to deliver value, whether it's internal value to your organization or it's an external value to your customers or your users. So when we look at the infrastructure that we have in the cloud, all of our servers, our databases, our routers, our VPCs, NATs, load balancers, whatever, we need to look at a team, a feature, an application, a workload, a cost center, and stop looking at the servers. And the way we in Attribute believe that we should do that is discover the full cost automatically of every workload that we run on the cloud. In the end, we run applications, we run code. The cloud is there to run features or applications whether, again, if it's internal or external. And the moment you map these workloads and you know exactly how much each workload costs, and you map these workloads into business value units like teams, feature, and application, you can understand the full cost without even tagging. And I think that in this slide, we can see how this looks like. So if we have an application, and this application is using workload A, B, C, and D, in the end, these are lines of code, programs that we run on the cloud in order to deliver value. Each one of these workloads is using shared resources. They're using not maybe Snowflake, like another cloud. They're using Kubernetes. They're using an RDS. They're using a shared S3 bucket. And again, these are examples. But the moment I know automatically, this is how much this workload, which is a part of that application, used, I have the full cost. And I don't need to go into tagging. And I don't need to go into shared resources challenges, because I have the full visibility on how much each one of these workloads cost throughout the entire environment. And I can map them to business units, whether that's a feature, an application, a team that is using this workload, etc. The moment I have this like better visibility, I can do real budgets, real anomaly detection, because I know what's driving the cost. And I can do real showback and real chargeback, because these numbers are accurate. And again, this is another slide to show you how it looks like. So team A is using workloads A, B, C, and D. And these workloads use etc. Resources. And the moment you have this full cost, you have your value in the cloud mapped really good, and you know exactly how much you're paying for it. So everybody's asking, okay, this looks like nice, amazing. We have like a cool slide here with some nice icon, but how do we make that like magic happens, right? Like it's not a magic, it's just technology.
Yeah, and it's interesting what you're showing here is like, because there are some organizations that prefer to have an infrastructure area that is responsible, basically, guess what? For shared resources. I like this way of organizing because you make sure that they are very specialized in certain technologies. They are maintaining that infrastructure, making sure that security is in place, reliability is in place. But the greatest challenge that they have is to know, okay, if I need to show back the cost of my shared resources for the ones that are using it, that's where all the complication starts.
Yes, and again, coming back to what you said, how can you have like a real visibility into how much value you're delivering for the cost you're paying if you don't have that? Like your numbers will be incorrect, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Okay, so again, like combining all of this together, our approach is like, don't do the slide on the left. The slide on the left is tagging the infrastructure. We believe that your visibility should be based on your business value. Whether your business value is customers, whether it's applications or features, you need to look at the cost of these units and leave the infrastructure aside. It's there, sure, but you need the visibility on the right. So how do we do that? So basically, we like here in Attribute, we came from cybersecurity. We said, let's take cybersecurity principles and let's take cybersecurity technology and like put it into FinOps. And this is why we're here. We wanted to innovate. And basically, we're using eBPF. eBPF is a Linux-based technology. It's an agent that we install on each one of your compute infrastructure, whether it's your GKE, EKS, whether it's an auto-scaling group, a VM, an EC2, whatever. And what this technology does, it's basically looking at all the traffic going in and out of your compute infrastructure. And basically, we map the traffic and we see who's talking with who on the cloud. The moment you know who's talking with who on the cloud, and you know how many bytes were sent from source to destination, you get a really, really good sense on who's using what. And this is exactly what we want to see. So you can see in this slide that the attribute sensor is looking at the traffic per any machine that is running on the cloud. It gets you microservice or workload visibility, and you can see for each microservice or workload all the resources that it consumes. When you correlate that, like that information from the sensor with billing data and with cloud telemetry data, you get the real and actual cost of a workload. And again, coming back to like the former slides, the moment we get the cost of a workload and we associate these workloads with teams or applications or features or customers, we get the real cost of these units. It's not an estimation, it's exactly how much each one of these units use throughout the entire resources of all of the cloud. And the moment you use eBPF technology, you can do amazing things. So not only you can say, oh, this is the cost of this application or that feature in my application or in my cloud, you can also go deeper and you can also say, okay, so that customer used this feature and this is how much it costs me. And this is something that we're actively doing with our customers. We give them this level of visibility for each and every customer using their cloud, which features has he been using and how much did it cost? And this granularity lets you understand the value that you extract from a feature, from a customer, from a business unit, or from a team. And this is what like we want to try to do.
Yes, the unit economics here would be, wonderful in the sense that if you're measuring, for example, cost per customer, you've got it here. If you would measuring cost per feature, it's there as well. So it's amazing.
Exactly, and to implement the new methodologies or the way to extract value from the cloud, you must have this visibility. If you don't have it, like everything breaks. So let's come to a conclusion, and I think Dima that like we're running short on time. Please correct me if I'm wrong. So earned value management is a proven methodology to scale organizations. And cloud cost today in organization is a massive driver. In some organization, it's the first or the second biggest expense in an organization. And in order to mature and to implement like better value extraction from what you're paying in the cloud, it's really important to get full cost allocation and more granular visibility into what you're paying for. And for that, we believe that you need to leverage new technologies in FinOps, whether it's ours, attributes technology, or whether it's like new technologies that some other players will bring to the business. We believe that we need to go beyond these like basic taggings and look at the actual unit values that we have in the cloud. So Dima, do we have a time for a demo or are we going to do Q&A now? You're the boss.
So I think that we have left with 15 minutes, which is exactly the time that we're expecting for that we managed to put the Q&A session. If you don't have anything to add or you, Anderson, to summarize anything, I would like to move to the second question of the poll that we're having in this webinar. But I see that we do have a few moments. Shahaf, do you want to give a sneak peek into the platform?
Yes, of course. Let's get the people running the new poll, and I'll pull up the demo for like a couple
in the
minutes.
Meanwhile.
Can you guys see my screen?
Indeed.
Amazing.
All right, Shahaf, you go.
Okay, awesome. So this will be like a very quick sneak peek like into our product. So basically, Attributes platform is a SaaS platform. As I said, we connect to your billing. We install our agent on your compute infrastructure, and everything you see here is delivered out of the box with no tagging automatically. And what you see here is basically all of your application, everything that you run on the cloud, all of these, each one of these is an application. It's code running on different compute environment in the cloud. And the cool thing here is that you see all the resources that this specific workload is using, whether it's querying a database or whether it's transmitting data into the internet, which of course incurs cost. Whether it's running on an EKS cluster, then we have compute cost that we need to pay for. Whether it's using a Kafka cluster, okay, that again, we're paying money for. And there are like many resources, of course, in the cloud, and the sensor automatically maps all the usage that each and every workload is doing for all of these resources. And the nice thing here is that moment you get this visibility and you have it automatically, now you can map these workloads into teams, into owners, okay, into business application, features. And this is really easy because we don't need to go and look at every specific database or an EC2 machine or a pod. We get that automatically. So it saves us a lot of time and it gives us the right visibility. If we go like and look at like specifically here, we configure like a Teams screen. So again, we have the Teams visibility of the teams that are like using this platform. And the cool thing here is that this is not based on tags. This is based on each one of these teams is responsible for 6, 7, 8, maybe 50 different applications throughout this environment. And the cost that you guys see here is the full cost of all of these applications. Nothing was tagged. Everything was like happened automatically because again, the workload is using resources in the infrastructure, and we just need to map the workload to the right team, which is a lot more easy than start tagging millions of databases and shared resources. And so this is what like we try to solve here in AtRebute. We have a lot more different features. I can jump here to other screens and show you how we do the cost per customer or a feature or application. But I want to like save our time, and everybody who's like who wish to see like a longer demo can contact us. We're not here to do like a full-blown demo. We just wanted to give like a sneak peek of what this new technology is.
Yeah, Shahaf, before you go, can you talk a little bit about these customers? Because I think that, at least from my perspective and on the other customers that I've been working for, it's always important to have this business context out of your data. So what are the good things that you have there?
Yeah, so again, thank you, Anderson, for this question. As I said, because we use this like new technology and because we look at actual network traffic, so we can say who's talking to who, but we can also look at the metadata, and we can also look at like every transaction and find the identifier that identifies an action, whether it's an action related to an application or whether it's an action related to a customer. And so what we do here in AtRebute is that we configure these identifiers in the system, and the system automatically logs and tags or attributes all the transactions that we see per each and every customer. And this is what you see here on this screen. So basically what you see here are all the customers that are using this like shared resource massive infrastructure in the cloud, getting service from this. This is specifically a demo of a SaaS application. And you can see that each one of these customers is using RDS data, EKS cluster workloads cost, and also EC2 standalone cost. And this is mapped automatically because, again, we look and we find all the instances or all the transaction where each and every one of these clients is using. And this mapping is done automatically, which I think is like something new here in FinOps, because a customer is value. You get value out of that customer. You're paying to service him, but he's also paying you back. So the moment you have this exact cost, and this is not something arbitrary, okay? It's not something that like I have 907 customers, I have, and my entire infrastructure costs 200K, let's divide them and get like a very like weird number. This is accurate. And you know exactly how much you're paying for each.
This is great.
Awesome. So I think we're good here on the demo, Dima. Let me go back to like our slides, and I'll pass the torch to you if you have any questions.
So I see here one question in the Q&A that is asking about, you mentioned Linux, and somebody's asking if this can support other machines out of Linux. So that's one question.
Awesome. So that's a really good question. The technologies that we use, eBPF, is Linux based. So currently we support only Linux machines, but we know that like a lot of very big, very important companies are using Azure, running Windows-based technology and workloads. So we are proactively working on implementing this solution on Windows machines as well. And I believe it will be available sometimes this year. eBPF is a very mature, proven technology. This is why we started there, but we are certainly planning on doing that for like Windows machines as well.
All right. So the next question will be for individuals that are trying to break into FinOps analytics, how much data analytics is required or analytics skills are required?
Is that like
Yeah.
oh yeah, go ahead, Anderson, please.
No, I think I can take this one. Okay, so if you have a tool like this one that we saw here on the screen, honestly, you don't need too much of analytics because all the heavy lifting has been done in here. If you're building something on your own, you will need to master the three aspects of a data analytics. That is the extraction, the load, and transformation before you start doing the analytics portion. All right. And because the volume of billing data and usage data is insanely huge, it can easily break any Excel or any simple Power BI. You will need to have some data engineering capabilities in order to first load the data. For sure, you need to transform them in order to enrich with what you need and load this to a data visualization that in that point can be Power BI, Tableau, or Looker or what have you, so that you can start doing your analysis. So in a nutshell, if you have something like attribute, it's out of the box. If you're building on your own, you will need to do a very good, you need to have a very good amount of knowledge on all the tools like SQL, Excel, Power BI, and other visualization tools.
All right, thank you for this one, Anderson. I'll move to another one. I see here somebody's writing, what about PaaS, P-A-A-S, app service plan, containers or Lambda functions? How can you make an assessment?
Awesome. So I'll take this one. I think that each and every one of these have like a different questions. I think Lambda is like a good example because Lambda, as we all know, is serverless. So like you can't install a sensor on a Lambda, sorry. But like basically you can, and we are planning to do that. So again, for some serverless technologies, we are planning to build a solution to be able to map these correlations between workloads and like serverless workloads and the resources that they're using. And regarding containers, this is the base of what we do. Our sensor sees containers, it sees all workloads per pods. So yeah, we can give like a container level visibility. And I think, by the way, some other tools out there also do this the same. So this is not like something really new. Regarding PaaS and service plans, again, these are complicated. I think that they require other solutions. We can't solve for everything, but this is a really good question. And that, just regarding what you said, Anderson, I think that everybody should know SQL and Power BI. This is my personal opinion. I think that if you're going into FinOps, whether you buy a solution or not, you need to control the data. You need to have those skills. It's basic today, and you get overflown with data. You need to be able to manipulate it, and so I believe that's like very basic.
All right, all right. Thanks for that. And I think we have time for last one question. I see that somebody's here mentioning that eBPF is used for monitoring and observability by many vendors. And can attribute coexist with observability vendors like Datadog, Dynatrace, New Relic, and all of those stuff? Shahaf, what would you say about that?
Yeah, so two questions here. I'll answer both. The first part is, do we provide other functionalities than FinOps? So the answer is yes, to some degree. We have some observability, like low-level observability capabilities, because in the end, we see the traffic. We try to keep that to a minimum because we want to be focused on the business value. We're not doing monitoring or cybersecurity, if that's the question, maybe one day. And regarding the coexistence with Datadog or Dynatrace, CoreLogix, of course, we live in like a different layer, and we can integrate with some of these vendors and correlate the data. A lot of our customers are using Datadog or Dynatrace. So yeah, of course, like it's just another perspective to get more information on your cloud cost.
Sounds good. Sounds good. I see also people asking about the price. I assume about the price of the software. So I'm just saying, my email is dima@attrb.io. In terms of pricing, we can speak about it. Of course, we wanted to keep this session a more educational one.
Yeah, we're not going to waste everybody's time on that.
Exactly. So unfortunately, we're nearing to the end of the time today. And a big thanks, first of all, to a dear friend of ours, Anderson, joining to his session. And thank you, Shahaf, for sharing your expertise and your experience in this market. Before we wrap up, just a quick reminders, we have this set recorded. So we're going to follow up with an email with the poll answers and also with the recording. And again, if you have any additional questions, feedback, feel free to reach out to us on LinkedIn, on email. We're always here and we're always happy to speak about FinOps and innovation. And thanks again, everyone. Have a great evening or have a great day, whatever you're from. And I hope to see you at the next webinar. Thank you a lot.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye.